each other, we've always cried together, we've always hugged together.
As far as I'm concerned, this space is Mecca. Like it's holy ground, because this is one of the very first places to do it intentionally and to do it across the entire system. And the connections that they've made with community, and really the ripples that have gone not just across the nation but across the world, like they have truly made a difference in education. And just there are educators that want to change the world. There are educators who want to revolutionize what the classroom looks like for the sake of their students, for the sake of their communities, and for the sake of their own sense of personal and professional satisfaction in the classroom. There's incredible things that are happening, and I think that those have largely been missed in the national dialogue. This is probably the best example, this conference, of the positive groundswell that's happening.
High Tech High now has 5 high schools, 4 middle schools, and 4 elementary schools. We just started with 1 high school and then grew from there. High Tech High was founded with the idea that kids can do real work for a real audience, and that is going to be more engaging than kind of sitting and receiving information and then regurgitating it for a test on Friday. When we started High Tech High, we thought about it as a series of concentric circles, and the center was we need to serve students well who go to our schools. But we also felt like, and also we want to save the world. And so both ideas exist, together. So there's just the kids at our 1 high school, now 13 schools. But then there's the region, there's the state, there's the country, there's the world. And not to be hubristic, but we are trying to help improve the quality of schools everywhere. It's not a competition. We all want to have really great schools for every kid everywhere, and that's what we're trying to get after. The Hewlett Foundation decided that they wanted to promote the idea of deeper learning, these competencies that every student ought to have that are a broader range of competencies. And they went out and said, who are people who we think are already trying to do this? And they approached High Tech High, New Tech Network, Envision Schools, Expeditionary Learning, and others, and said, we think you're doing deeper learning. Do we have that right? You're trying to do deeper learning. And a group of us said, yeah, that is what we're trying to do. And so we started getting together as senior leaders in these different organizations a few times a year, learning from each other, thinking together, working together. And so we launched this Deeper Learning Conference as an effort to kind of have a broader range of people from around the world who can come together, we're all trying to do this deeper learning thing. Let's learn from each other, because it's a never-ending journey. There's always more to be done, always more to get better at. So that's what we're trying to do.
So when we got a chance to start High Tech High, we knew all our kids were going to do internships. We were going to be a diverse population and untracked. We would not separate kids out into the smart kids, the dumb kids. Every one of our classes would be as diverse as the school itself was. And finally, we knew we wanted to end teacher isolation. We wanted teachers working in teams with each other and modeling that kind of collaboration. If we are asking our teachers to model and foster 21st century skills for the students, we need to put them in a 21st century work environment. We guarantee the parents, yes, all the subjects will be covered. Our aim in the beginning, when anyone asked a kid, what are you doing in school? We didn't want them to be saying, well, at 9 o'clock I go to math, 10 o'clock I have history, and so we wanted them to talk about the one thing that they were working on. We wanted a sense of an integrated day and an integrated experience. So we're still working at that, and that's a hopeful project for us. We're still trying to move and still trying to grow around the integration. One of the primary impediments to change in schools is the subject matter organization of the curriculum and the subject matter loyalties of teachers, who see when we ask them to integrate and to do something to connect with the world, their first impulse often is to protect their subject matter, to make sure their subject matter gets in. The major problem in schools today is engagement. We need to find ways to engage our kids, and in order to do that, we need to reach them where they are, where they live, and we need to help them connect to the world beyond school. Projects are a really powerful way to do that. Not necessarily the only way, but a really powerful way to do that.
The reason why I stepped out of the classroom or tried to do something more was because the whole time I was working at High Tech Elementary Explorer, I had both the sense of privilege that I get to work in an organization that allows me to do this work that gives students the opportunities to dig into real world problems and actually develop as learners, and this guilt that I had left behind a population of students that really needed this. And so when I changed my role, I thought about how can I change the system rather than just changing the lives of these 24 students at a time. The great thing about being a deeper learning hub is that we are not trying to be the one organization that's doing it all. We're just trying to connect everyone who's already in this work. So one of the things that is a main role of the Deeper Learning Hub is essentially to take these organizations that are so innovative and pushing the boundaries about what education can be and giving them a platform to connect with one another so that we're not just innovating in these small pockets and changing the lives of the children there, but that we can actually move what education looks like for all students. Our biggest project in the Deeper Learning Hub right now is a campaign called Share Your Learning, and it's a national movement to get educators to allow their students to publicly share their learning with an audience beyond the classroom. Our aim is to get 5 million students to publicly share their learning by 2020. So that equals about 300,000 educators who sign up as committed people ready to do things like exhibitions of learning, where students are sharing what they've done in a class project or in a school project with a local community or community experts, families within the school community, etc. Also student-led conferences, where students are the ones that are leading the conference. If you think about your traditional parent-teacher conferences, one of the big problems with that is the teachers telling the parents, here's how your student is doing, the parents saying, oh, what can we do at home? And the kid is essentially left out of that whole conversation, and they're the ones that are doing the learning.
When a student is finished with her schooling and she graduates and enters her adult life, she'll be judged for the rest of her life by two things: the quality of her work and the quality of herself as a person, the quality of her character. She's not going to be judged by test scores anymore. And in our lives and in our businesses, in our nonprofits, our organizations, we care about the quality of work that people do. And so it's a little crazy that the only way we look at schools and teachers and students is by test scores. Not that test scores are wrong. I mean, tests can certainly be a part of assessment, but as the only part of assessment that's respected, it's not actually measuring what we expect people to do in the world. And so project-based learning is sort of making clear that the work that kids do in school and the ethic of work, the craftsmanship they build, the skills they build of how to work alone and together with others collaboratively, is what's going to determine their success in life as workers, as citizens, so we better be taking it seriously. Just the acquisition of content, the way I was taught growing up, is no longer the most important thing to focus on, especially since content is so readily available to all of us through mobile devices. In contrast, the kids in the schools that I work with in EL education or schools like High Tech High, kids are deeply proud of doing important, significant, sophisticated work, the kind of work they'll be doing in the real world already, and they're building skills along with it. So what's important now, I think, is not just how to get knowledge, because we know how to get content, but how to apply that knowledge to create things of value. So it's using knowledge versus memorizing knowledge that is becoming the new focus. Basic skills matter, test scores matter, and building kids with an ethic of craftsmanship and hard work and perseverance to do great work individually and collaboratively is equally important or more important for success in life. There are many fingers of the project-based learning movement, the PBL movement, all over the country. My particular mission with my organization is I think that there is a misconception that PBL, project-based learning, is only effective and worth risking with students that are already doing fine, students of privilege, students in middle-class communities, suburban students. PBL is okay for them. However, low-income students, rural students, or urban students who are struggling with basic skills, we have to keep project-based learning away from them because it's too risky. I fully understand that concern because basic skills really do matter. But I am also convinced that it's not true. Because if you can build basic skills into the projects kids are doing, they enter those projects with excitement and pride and engagement in a way that makes them learn their basic skills in a deeper way. When people don't trust me in saying that, I bring them to schools like the one I'm sitting in now, or schools that I work with in EL education. So we have dozens of schools, public schools across America, that use project-based learning and deeper learning, where every graduate is getting into college every single year. This is an approach that works with all students. The key is for people to see settings where students that are all low-income students, rural students, urban students, are having profound success with this, where they are getting into college, where they are succeeding in college because of that ownership of their work.
The Deeper Learning Conference has been spectacular. Probably the biggest takeaway with it is just the intentionality and the purpose that they've used in this conference. It's really inspiring to watch an organization, a group of people that take the why, they have asked their why, and then they have applied it to their how, and they have just built everything around who they are as educators, who they are as people, and who they want to stand for. One of the things we really need to do in education is to make learning deeper and really to connect at the students' core values so that students can connect the dots for themselves and connect their core values to the learning that's happening in the classroom. We live in interesting times right now, right? The politics and the national dialogue can be so toxic. It's really just rippling into our community organizations, and educators really are struggling with that right now. There are students that are struggling with that, and it can be quite a challenge for communities and for organizations to try to figure out how to meet that challenge head on. When you think about the topic of immigration right now, it's very real world work, right? This is a topic that people are struggling with within their communities. It's very centered in the community right now. We're essentially asking who our community is, what is the essence of our community, right? And as far as the relevance to students, like, it's highly relevant, right? Like these topics have been discussed at kitchen tables, they're being discussed in hallways in schools, they're being discussed outside of schools. Like, it fits all of those pieces. And so connecting immigration to project-based learning really just makes sense. The immigration debate has changed. How we think about people in different communities has changed, and our civic sense of responsibility and actions and values have changed. And educators really have to meet that. They have to meet it head on. They have to think about that, because our core values as a country have not changed. We still know what it means to be an American. We still know what those core values means. And I have all of the hope in the world that our country will survive the current era that we're in, and that our values will come out on the other side stronger. But we have to meet those challenges head on.